The year was 1991 and I was about to start high school. But in this alternate timeline, I had transitioned a few years prior during middle school. I would be joined at Lucerna High School by a few of my peers who had known me before and during that process. But for the most part, I was looking forward to a new year at a new school with a new student body who only knew me as Miriam, or Mimsy for short. What follows was not my story, but it was in the next world over. I was always a very studious child, primarily because I always believed that my value as a person lay in my ability to always know the correct answer to any question. This made me exactly as popular as it sounds. But I was resolved to change that. Make friends, go to parties, possibly go on dates, even if that meant interacting with boys, which seemed like an unfortunate prerequisite for romance. I got contacts. I wore makeup. I paid attention to my clothes. I was a big girl now. I was 14 years old. And I did make friends. The sort of slapdash, awkward, nobody knows what's happening friends that you make in your freshman year. Did we share interests? No. Did we have compatible dispositions? Also no. But did we have the same lunch period? That was enough. A bunch of my new friends were excited to join the volleyball team when the season started in the spring. Not wanting to lose contact with my new friends, I signed up too. Now, I never had sisters. I did not understand how girls interacted, and volleyball was my crash course. Practice with these girls, travel with these girls, change clothes with these girls, talk about bodies with these girls, cooperate with these girls in order to win the game, but also at the same time compete with these girls to be recognized as the best player on the team. And let's just say that I learned through failure. Friend groups in freshman year shake out to become the fast friendships that last the rest of high school and beyond. And I got shaken out. Sadly, my freshman year concluded with a truly unfortunate fixation with beret hats. It was the 90s. We all thought that we looked cool in the most useless hat ever invented. And there were just entirely too many plaids. But by the start of sophomore year, the plaids had been forgotten and replaced with denim. Because, again, the 90s. This was high fashion in 1992. Because I was expected to keep playing volleyball, a spring semester sport, my guidance counselor advised me to enroll in an autumn semester sport to balance my class schedule. She was very insistent on this, and so I joined the basketball team. Basketball is a very different sport than volleyball, primarily because it's a contact sport. So, in spite of the fact that you're looking at these smiling, composed pictures in fresh jerseys, I want you to imagine poor little 15-year-old Mimsy getting up close and personal with a bunch of sweaty girls, and wow, did she not know what to do with all of those feelings. Just as a side note, we never did find out why the basketballs varied in size over the course of the season. It's a mystery. But poor little Mimsy was having feelings that she wasn't too sure about. So I started presenting very femme and very loudly straight, and started saying really cringy things in public about wanting a boyfriend. I hoped that putting that energy out into the world would just miraculously make one manifest. Unsurprisingly, that did not work. So instead, I buried those weird feelings under an old reliable schoolwork. I even won an award for science, I think. But being the perfect student did not banish the ceaseless visions of sweaty girls. Finally, in desperation, I turned to my old vice, berets. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. But when even anachronistic French fashion didn't save me, I finally gave up and accepted reality. On May 17th, 1993, I came out as a lesbian. This was a big deal back then, even for me, because sure, I'd transitioned, but that was because I wanted to be a girl, not be with girls, right? There was a lot of introspection. That summer, I listened to Indigo Girls and Annie DeFranco CDs on repeat. For a little while, I thought that I might be the Indigo Girls and Annie DeFranco. Look, I'm not proud. But luckily, I did eventually realize that it was possible to be a lesbian and femme at the same time. Which brings us to junior year. Now, I had exactly 2 goals going into junior year. One, to really dig in academically, because junior year was when you could start taking advanced placement classes. The other goal was to get a girlfriend. Now, these classes were really rigorous, very in-depth, and they led up to a big test at the end of the year. If you passed the test, you got college credit. So the idea was these were basically college-level courses available at your high school, and by junior year, you might be ready to take 1 or 2. I took 4 because I was, and still am, an overachieving dingbat. But even with that course load, I was going to find a girlfriend. This was my year. I was sure of it. I said a lot of cringy things in public about wanting a girlfriend. I hoped that putting that energy out into the world would miraculously make one appear. It did not, because in all of my planning, I had forgotten one simple detail. I was the only out lesbian at Lucerna High School. So the year progressed, and just at the point where my classes were reaching fever pitch in preparation for those big tests, prom season hit. The announcement that tickets were on sale was very clear. They would only be sold to boy-girl pairs. And I took this personally. Did I have a date for junior prom? Absolutely not. It was the principle of the thing. So I made a big stink and complained long and loud, and possibly this was me just putting it out there that I really wanted a girlfriend with whom I could go to junior prom. But at the end of the day, the administration told me that it was out of their hands. They didn't plan prom. That was handled by the duly elected presidents of the senior and junior classes. Now, did I go back to my ridiculous course load and focus on getting my early college credits? No. I launched my campaign to run for president of the senior class. Now, the only out lesbian in the school, a trans girl, trailing behind her a wake of fallen out friends and 1-year stints in team sports, is kind of the definition of a dark horse candidate. And these campaigns are popularity contests that we do not run on issues. But I was young and naive and honestly a bit stupid. I championed a single issue, Queers at Prom, which you'd think would be a non-starter in 1994. But I had a secret weapon: stickers. I wish I was joking. I wish my secret weapon was something more impressive and consequential, but my dad worked in a print shop, and he had just shown me how he could print onto sheets of crack and peel sticker paper. And I had access to what passed for graphic design software back then. So we papered the entire campus with stickers. We passed out so many stickers that the administration has banned campaign stickers ever since. We passed out so many stickers that the front runner got spooked. She adopted my single issue platform. She promised that if she were elected, there would be queers at prom. I lost the election, or did I? Anyway, the next week I took my AP tests and got college credit for 3 of them. And then it was the summer. Senior year was defined almost exclusively by the college admissions process, and it broke me in good ways and bad. College admissions required an impressive number of classes, which I had. I was in French 4 at that point, and it was only at that point that I realized that I could actually read French books that weren't textbooks. You'd think I'd be dropping a picture of me in a beret in here, but I don't stoop to... Oh, yeah, there we go. Anyway, I was in AP Calculus and AP English and AP Civics and decided to take another crack at the AP French test, which I'd bombed the year prior. College admissions required you to go out and volunteer in your community. A friend and I ran all over town raising money for Seroptimist International. I got involved in church again against my better judgment, so I could rightfully claim that I volunteered at a soup kitchen. Somehow it never occurred to me that I could just volunteer at the soup kitchen without going through my church, which was prickly about the prodigal transbian returning to the fold. College admissions required extracurricular activities, which we just fabricated. My friends and I spun up a literary magazine at our school, printing something like 5 different issues over the course of the year. I, the ringleader with contacts at the local print shop, served as the editor-in-chief. All that effort was exclusively to put the Lucerna Literary Society on our college applications. And this is what I mean when I say it broke me, because the artifice was exposed. If you wanted to say you spoke French or volunteered at a soup kitchen or were the editor-in-chief of a literary magazine, all you had to do was do it. It didn't have to be some essential core element of your character. You didn't have to have the right answer to every question. You just did stuff and wrote it down. And this is what the world was built on. And then I did a stupid thing. I applied early admission to Westmont College, a small Christian school that advertised to me while I was passing through church on the way to volunteer at the soup kitchen. I figured, hey, I can do this application as a practice run, and they'll give me an answer before I even have to start on all my other applications. And they did get back to me with an acceptance letter, and I didn't apply anywhere else. It was only after that I discovered the tiny little Unitarian Universalist congregation that met every Sunday in our local YMCA. They didn't care that I was trans. They didn't care that I was queer. They didn't just tolerate my presence. They welcomed me into their community. They told me that I had inherent worth and dignity, and that I was more than a list of achievements on my college application. It was exactly what I needed to hear just 2 months too late. I worshipped with the UUs for 6 months before heading off to college. It would take me a decade before I found my way back. But let's end this on a high point, huh? Prom. True to her word, the senior class president made sure that queers could buy tickets to prom. Did I find a date for senior prom? Still no, because it was 1995 and I was still the only out lesbian at Lucerna High School. But I bought my ticket anyway, just to personally ensure that there would be at least one queer at prom. My notoriety from the year prior got me on the ballot for prom queen. I'll be the first to admit it kind of fit thematically. Oh, she carpeted the school with queers at prom stickers. Wouldn't it be perfect if she went to the dance and got the crown? So I got trotted out in front of a bunch of school assemblies, and a whole bunch of people got to feel good about how they were allowing the queer trans girl to feel like she was a contender. Now, here's the part of this alternate universe story that I'm telling myself, that I am telling you, where I could back down and say, of course, I didn't win. Of course, I wasn't really a contender. These pictures, I could point out, are me in a tiara, which every member of the Queen's Court wears. It's not the crown. Or I could say that I won. It'd be self-indulgent, sure, but who's keeping track anyway? But instead, I'd like to end this story by saying that after prom was over, a whole bunch of kids at my school came out of the closet. All kinds of queers just falling out of the woodwork everywhere. And a couple of them said that it was seeing me standing up at those school assemblies that was what tipped the first domino for them. And so, by graduation, I was no longer the only queer who was out at Lucerna High School. And that is the happy ending to my story.